It's actually good to be able to speak to you. I mean, so you're known by Mookie,
Yeah,
and
everyone calls me.
you don't know by Mookie. Okay, Mookie. Well, want to welcome you to Halftime Chat.
Awesome.
We've it. I mean, there's the mixture of what the show is about. It takes us back down memory lane from some of the 90s. We get to hear some background stories around some of the people that we admired, but also just the what influenced you and how your journey got you into industry as well. Um, we have an
Absolutely.
international audience, and so people from all over the place tune in. So it's always good to start off with where you were sort of born and raised.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually born in Canada, in
Okay.
Montreal, Canada. Yeah, my both of my parents were musicians. My dad had a recording contract at the time, and it was based in Canada.
Okay.
So he went up there to record, and I was born. And after he's done recording, he came back to the States. So, you know, I'm a American dude, but I got dual citizenship. It's pretty
Oh,
cool.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It comes with the birth, so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but you didn't. Yeah, Montreal. I think is that the French side of Canada?
It is. I don't speak any French. Both of my
Okay.
parents, they spoke fluent French. They didn't pass it down to me, so
Okay. Okay.
I'm stuck there.
So you say your parents are,
Yeah.
are both your parents musicians? Was your dad?
Yeah. My dad, he passed away a year ago,
Oh,
and
okay. Sorry.
but it's totally cool. And he was a well-known jazz musician. He
Wow.
recorded and performed with everyone from Ray Charles to Paul
Wow.
McCartney, and yeah, legendary. And my mom was she's still alive. She's a classical cellist,
Wow.
and she studied with some of the greats from Isaac Stern. One of her good friends, dear friends, is Zach Perlman. If anyone on that side of the fence is a very famous violinist. And so they passed it down to me and my whole crew of brothers. So we've
Wow.
always played music right from the jump. So yeah,
So
pretty
we've
cool.
got a we've got a very interesting dynamic. You've got your dad with jazz
Yeah,
and your mom with classical. There seem
yeah,
to be
yeah,
two types of complex type of music, but they just seem to be at odds.
yeah.
How did that sort of filter down to you
It's
guys?
it's interesting because yeah, they're both brands of music are complex, but we were brought into things very little. He started us out singing. So we would be on stage doing, at the time, I think the first song I sung was Ben by Michael Jackson.
Wow.
And so we were doing all the pop music of the time when we were little, but that the type of strict training, we'll put it like that, like military training, I call it, was ingrained in us. Like, uh, I'm a drummer. And so, you know, whenever the kids was outside playing and, doing football and sports, we was inside practicing.
Wow.
So the discipline that comes with both jazz and classical filtered down the most, I'll say. Um, and what's weird, I don't read music. Everybody else in my family reads music, but I just picked up drums pretty naturally. So my dad would, say, "All right, let's go play," and pretty much, he'd tell me what to play. I play it, and I had it. So I'm
So
kind of
those,
mad about that. I want to read.
yeah, but I do wonder then. So I mean,
Yeah.
with both parents, what instrument did your dad? What was his instrument choice? Was it
He was
tr
particularly trumpet
trumpet?
and
Okay.
all the brass. He could play every brass, but he played everything. He played drums, guitar, bass, you name it, and taught all of me and my brothers to play. And my brothers would play sax and uh, horns and all that. So, and I just ended up on the drums. And I taught myself how to play a little guitar, bass, keys, enough for recording purposes. So, but it was a fun childhood.
Yeah, but what was it?
It
I
was
mean, growing
definitely
up in
something.
that environment though,
Hmm. Hmm.
with parents in that, what was the expectations for you?
Ah, good. Well, the thing is, when we were very young, which is when we started performing and getting into music, my dad was still, he was still performing. And I remember being in California. He, packed us all up in the station wagon. We moved from New England. I think we were living in Massachusetts at the time. Went to California, and a ton of people in the business knew Pop. So, he we go to these record company meetings, and we're little kids,
Yeah.
four little stair steps. We're 1 year apart, so we're looking like little Jackson 5 wannabes. And we'd go to these meetings with my mom and my dad. And by the way, let's see, this was the late 70s, early 80s. So my mom is a white Jewish woman, and my dad is a really beautiful dark chocolate man. So we had that dynamic. So there was just the
Oh,
stairs were, yeah, the stairs were something else. But we would go to these meetings and we'd see celebrities of the times. My dad was good friends with uh, uh, Red Fox, who
okay.
was otherwise known as Fred
Yeah,
Sanford,
yeah, Red
Sanford and
Fox.
Son.
Yeah.
So he'd pull us up, and Dad and Red, they'd be hanging out, and we'd just be all in awe. But we grew up in the environment. It was always music and entertainment, and so it got into my system. And as I became a teenager, and I'm listening to the music I want to listen to, what's on the radio, Lakeside and all the R&B, which is what I was listening to, and hip hop. Hip hop started popping. Um, that's why I just started going that direction. Now Dad and them, Dad's like, you play your jazz, boy. But I'm listening to my radio. I got it on R&B constantly, R&B and hip hop. And so that's what got at me. And then I started dabbling with creating. I had a dear friend of mine that was also, the kid musicians gravitated towards the kid musicians. So I found a friend of mine who played bass. I'm on drums. So we're like, no, we got to record some music. And we didn't have any equipment. He got some equipment. I said, all right, let's go. And next thing you know, I'm trying to make music. But I should say this too. I'm speaking a lot because I want to get you up to where all this.
Yeah.
Before I started making tracks, the music part, I didn't have any music, so I had a little guitar. My dad taught me my first chords, and so I was big into Prince. It was mid '80s, and I was like, all right, well, I'm an emotional guy. I'm just gonna write songs. So I started out lyrically. So
Wow.
that's what I was before making any music. And once I realized that, I always knew music. It was always music in my life. I think I remember playing music before doing anything else,
Yeah.
literally going to school. Um, Once I realized I had a knack for it, that was it. I saw stars. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna find my way up out of Charleston, South Carolina, in some way, somehow, and then the rest.
Yeah, it's out that you're back there
Yeah,
again
yeah.
right now, but
Yeah. I was going to say there. It's a total full circle moment.
yeah.
That'll be in the book. We'll talk about that later.
It'll be, but
That'll be in the book.
so so what was it that so who were the people that you were inspired by then, if not
Yeah.
jazz and classical? What were you listening to on the radio that you
Well, now mind you, my favorite people often ask me, and they'll assume because of music I've worked on or that I play, it'd be one thing. But the music I listen to when I'm on my own time, it
Mhm.
is classical. I listen to Bach,
Oh.
Mendelssohn, Brahms, Mozart. But that's just that's my own tranquility, my own sidestep. I came up listening to obviously Prince, Lionel Richie, huge
Oh.
fan. His songwriting. Um, like I said, Lakeside, Confunction. Uh, I listen to Kraftwerk, but a lot, but hip hop. All the OGs, Melly Mel, uh, uh, Houdini.
Okay.
Uh, I came up on that side. That was popping on the radio, and I when I became a teenager, I just dove in. So R&B
But
and
when you
hip
were
hop.
drumming and doing that, how did your parents, what was
Oh,
their reaction when they saw that, okay, you're not really
oh,
into the
okay, got
jazz
you.
classical?
Well, my mom, she was cool. She gave up her classical life to raise
Oh,
a bunch of children, and my
okay.
dad, just continued on playing. My dad also performed. He would do shows all over New England, And the music he would play would be, contemporary music. It wasn't always jazz, even though there would be some jazz he would be doing. So
Mm.
he got it. He knew that, pop music, R&B, radio music was the hit. So he was fine. The bigger thing though, there's always a meeting of the dad and son, the fissure, the thing that happened between father and son when I decided that I was going to do my own thing. He's like, you're gonna have to go through me. I mean, it was like that. It's just
Wow.
music. But so at first it was rocky, but then, he saw how like I would be up all night and I'd be in my headphones and I'd be, how serious I was about it. So he supported. He paid for my first demo recording session to make some songs, me and my brothers. So I was, you know, once I got through the jazz whip, I was good.
Yeah. Yeah, we've
Yeah,
seen
I,
with
t- I, t- I took it all about, yeah.
but
Yeah.
what was
He
it that you
it
wanted?
was really a mini. It was a Joe Jackson. If anyone who knows the Jackson 5 story, it was parallel,
Yeah,
but it was
but was
cool.
it that what was his vision for you and your brothers?
Yes. Um. Well, he saw us as a because we came up in that time. He saw us as a Jackson 5. Like he thought
Oh,
he was raising, you know, the next group. He took us. We got to meet Freddie Perrin, who's one of the legendary songwriters of some of those Jackson 5 hits, and we performed for him, and we did all of that. He was thinking he was going to have us make it as you know the next little
oh, like the
group.
barge and the, okay.
Yep, DeBarge, Silvers, the group's in. Yeah, perfect.
But
So
then, but
that was the
were you guys
dream, but it
singing as
didn't
well?
happen.
Were you guys singing up? Because you
We're,
mentioned a
we're
lot about
only
the.
singing. Yeah, we
Okay.
were singing. We played music, but
Yeah.
he had us, as a group, four brothers singing. So that was the initial mission.
But then was he because he was into the jazz? What was the music he was envisioning for you guys to perform?
Got you. I got you. It was current. He did contemporary music. It was radio. It wasn't jazz. That
Okay.
was that was our training. That was a
Ah,
musical training, which is good because it brings you to your chops and your understanding of the critical mass of music. But he was all about the radio and what was happening at the time. So that was
okay.
him.
So
Yeah,
so you played the drums. What were your brothers playing?
yeah. My brothers, they were all. One of my brothers played sax. My other
Okay.
brothers played trumpet. But he would have us. He had a band that was my dad. So the guy would play bass, and there would be keys, and my brothers we'd switch up on percussions. I'd be drumming horns. So it wasn't a full band, but we incorporated our ability to play music in the show. But it was something, man. New England, we had New England rocking. Like my dad was selling tickets.
But for you guys or
Yeah.
for him for his
So
group,
yeah,
for his band?
for the combination, he would do part of the show, then we do part of the
Okay.
show.
What were you guys
We didn't
called?
get the tick. We didn't get the ticket sales. I guess we
Yeah.
got it the roof over our head. But, we
But
we were
well,
called the Morantian Four. The
the Morant
Morantian
people.
Four. He used
So
our last name and went with it. Yeah.
so what do you think went wrong then? Why do you think it didn't
Oh man, this is so cool. I didn't even plan to go down. This is so essentially we were good. But in retrospect, there was so many good, like Jackson 5 was popping, and then the Silvers came. So I think the timing was a little bit off,
hmm,
and we were also very young.
how old?
Like we weren't teenagers. We were oh man, we were in California. I'm the second oldest, so and I might have been 7. So we're
Oh,
talking 5, 6, and 7, and
yeah.
8. We were young, and we weren't. I don't think we were ready. And
Mm.
here's my dad. He's kicking ass, and he's like a Mr. Entertainer. He's a super performer. And then 4 little cute kids. That's cool, but we weren't ready.
Yeah, and you think about it because Michael,
Humbly.
yeah, because Michael was the youngest, and even
Oh
Elle is the
no.
youngest. So you have the older ones who
Yeah,
sort of bridge the gap, and then the younger ones can shine. But if you're
musically.
all that young, it might just
Yeah.
seem a little
It
okay.
was I just think we weren't ready. I mean, we were no I wasn't no Michael Jackson in our group. Let's just
Okay.
keep it real like that. It's
Okay.
just bottom. No, we were cool. We were cute. We knew our stuff, but nah, we were ready.
But then, when was the time when he says, "Okay, that's it. It's not going to work. Let's stop"? I mean, I mean, I would have thought, did you not continue until you
Um,
were teenagers and thought, okay, you.
Absolutely. Well, we continued. We, see, in my, we're kids, so now I can retrace the roots, and again, I've been writing about it, uh, but back then it was just a continual train of music. It didn't matter where we were, whether we were in New England, whether we were on the West Coast or down south. We were always doing music, and then I got to a point at the ripe old age of 11 where where my dad said, "All right, I'm going to bring you on some gigs. You play some songs." So I started playing behind him, and this is where jazz. It was I had to get real.
Mm,
I'm performing with him as his drummer,
wow.
and and I became his steady drummer. So 12 and 13, he's doing shows just locally, and next thing you know, as the years go by, I'm his drummer, and then I did that for I guess 4 or 5 years, and then by the time I was 17, I was looking at my own world like I'm graduating high school. I got a dream. So one thing kind of, it wasn't that there was that I remember an official stop, but I
Yeah.
imagine that they decided that that wasn't happening, and we're in school, and now we settling down in South Carolina. So as my dad continued to perform, I became his drummer, and that was the next phase, essentially.
Mm. Hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. But also check out the membership, which is a good way of getting some exclusive videos and actually long videos from day one. But thanks again for watching. Look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.